Trey Lance, they gave up 3 first-round picks for. Brock Purdy would be the first rookie quarterback to go to a Super Bowl, but Shady, they gave up 3 first-round picks for a man by the name of Trey Lance. Brock Purdy's future, it's in limbo.
Yeah.
We love him right here, right now, in the moment, but you played a long time in the NFL. That doesn't necessarily mean everything. Is Brock Purdy the future of the 49ers with the win on Sunday?
I'm going to say yes. Even if he doesn't get a win, I think he's there for the future. When we watched Trey Lance, he didn't jump off the tape and say, oh, wow. He didn't show me anything that he did really good. He didn't show me anything he did really great. I didn't see none of that. This young kid, I don't know if it's a first rounder, 7th rounder, Brock Purdy's a beast. He's a rookie. We talking about a rookie out here. It's so hard. I'm trying to put you in the mind frame of a ball player as a rookie. As a rookie, you're just trying to know your plays so I don't mess up. I don't know what the wide receiver has. I don't know what the quarterback has. I know what I have. I got to go to the A gap, get the ball, don't fumble. He's doing everything beyond that. He's making plays. So the biggest question is, after the season, let's say they're going to lose this game. Obviously, it's Eagles, you know that. But anyway, let's say we go to the offseason. They lose whatever it is. How do you tell Trent Williams, how do you tell Debo Samuels that, or Christian McCaffrey, this is not going to be our quarterback? He's like, huh? The 4 games that we see from Trey Lance wasn't impressive. These last 7 games, 8 games he had, he's been balling lights out. So I don't know, man. I don't know how you can go back to Trey Lance. I know you did the draft picks, but at the end of the day, you got to go what's working now and what's hot. And he has the 49ers smoking hot.
Shady, let me think about it like this, or allow you to think about it like this. Even if Brock Purdy has a historic Super Bowl run, I don't think that he will be cemented as a guy in San Fran for this reason. The Niners were ready to move off of Jimmy G, not because the Niners weren't in the Super Bowl, not because Jimmy G couldn't have a 10-point lead in the Super Bowl, a Super Bowl with which my co-host LeSean McCoy was in. They moved off of Jimmy G because Jimmy G had a talent gap. There was a talent gap between Jimmy G and Josh Allen, Jimmy G and Patrick Mahomes, Jimmy G and Joe Burrow, Jimmy G and Lamar Jackson, Jimmy G and Justin Herbert, Jimmy G and Trevor Lawrence, Jimmy G and Jalen Hurts. There was a talent gap between Jimmy G and the rest. So the issue was not that Jimmy G couldn't get to a Super Bowl, nor that he couldn't win a Super Bowl. A 10-point lead in the 4th quarter, that should be enough. The issue was Kyle Shanahan wanted to make up the talent gap. Regardless of what Brock Purdy does this weekend and beyond, that does not change the fact that a talent gap exists. Dave Helman, he mentioned it eloquently yesterday. Statistically speaking, Jimmy G's stat line and Brock Purdy's stat line nearly identical. Now, the Niners do score 10 more points a game, but when you look at Jimmy G and Brock Purdy in isolation, nearly identical. So there is still a talent gap between Brock Purdy and all these other elite quarterbacks. That is the talent gap that I believe Kyle Shanahan wants to make up, regardless of how it goes on Sunday. So, Dave, when I think about Brock Purdy and all of the incredible things he's done, I don't know that he will be safe in the future as a starter, regardless of how it plays out.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think the answer would be yes if it was any other organization. But we already know the Niners have a history of doing this. And honestly, before Shanahan, they even have a history. You realize the Niners are going to the NFC Championship Game regularly, and they're doing it with different quarterbacks. Like they did it with Alex Smith, then they did it with Colin Kaepernick, then they did it with Jimmy G. Now they're doing it with Brock Purdy. And like I said, it's different regimes, but the track record is there that suggests we know what we're about. We know how to get here. There's not a magical quarterback that gets us to this game. And they did invest a ton in Trey Lance. Teams typically don't like to be wrong about giving up that many assets for a player, especially offensive masterminds with justifiably big egos like Kyle Shanahan. So I think Brock Purdy has earned a future in San Francisco. I mean, he's a rookie, so at the bare minimum, he doesn't have a choice. I mean, he's going to be there for 3 years, but they have a tremendous amount of stake in Trey Lance, and they have a tremendous amount of history that suggests that they don't need a specific quarterback. I think there's something to be said for building around a guy that only costs $800,000. Like, as loaded as this roster is right now, think about how much more you can do. They can't even negotiate a new contract for Brock Purdy until 2 years from now. But think about the hay you could make not having to spend any money on your quarterback. So I think there's arguments for it, but with everything we know about San Francisco and how much success they've had doing it this way, I don't think you can guarantee anything, even with a win.
You're probably right, but if they win a Super Bowl, how do you move on from it?
It would be unprecedented.
Because you
that might be the one thing.
You can't do this with any quarterback. You can't win a Super Bowl. Jimmy was in the Super Bowl a throwaway, but you don't get a special ring for being a throwaway. You either win or you lose it.
True.
And he lost it. So they can't do this with any quarterback. Not win the Super Bowl. They can get the NFC Championship game.
Right.
They can potentially get to the Super Bowl, but they can't win a Super Bowl with any old quarterback because they haven't. So all that talk, you don't have the ring. So I think if he wins a Super Bowl, there's no question, and there shouldn't be any question that he should be the future. But to me, even if he makes it to the Super Bowl, there shouldn't be a question. I agree with Shady, there shouldn't be a question now, but because it is San Francisco and they have been known to do this, as you guys have just laid out, it's obviously on the table. But you really have an advantage in this situation. Brock Purdy is very inexpensive. He's won over the locker room. He's clearly capable. Imagine what he's going to look like with an off season.
Right.
Developing not just learning the system and getting better in the film room, but also building his body up more. Look at the difference between Jalen Hurts last year and this year. It's a different body. Yeah. When you put in that kind of work and you are the guy, it's a different situation. But you also can move on from Trey Lance. You don't have to keep him. I understand you spent a lot on him, but it worked out. Like maybe sometimes the thing that you spent less money on is way more valuable than the thing you splurged on. And in this situation, I think that might be the case. There are other teams that need a young quarterback that are not going to have an opportunity to draft one. You're telling me you can't make a trade with the Colts, the Falcons? How about the Panthers?
No, that's a thought.
Yeah.
You can move on from Trey Lance. You're not stuck with him.
I guess the thoughts I have in response to that, and I think that is brilliant, is if you were to move on from Trey Lance, I don't know that you're clearly not going to get equal value.
At all.
And you might get a second rounder, you might get a third rounder, but I don't know that you're going to get maybe a third or fourth rounder. Yeah. So you're not going to get equal value, and the Niners might be okay with that. But I guess in my experience is the players that often play are not the most talented. The players that often play are the most invested in. Investment looks like a lot of different things. Shady, you know this personally. Investment looks like the most money, or investment looks like the most picks.
Right.
Investment has a lot of different ways it takes form in the National Football League. So Trey Lance was the starter this year for the San Francisco 49ers. But Trey Lance wasn't the best quarterback. We all know that. Because Jimmy G went in and was instantly better, and Brock Purdy went in and was instantly better. So the empirical data, along with our eyes, tell us Trey Lance was likely the third best quarterback on the Niners roster week one, yet he started week one. So what that tells us is the best player in San Fran already wasn't going to play this year. So as I look at it 2-5, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know if there's anything, a Super Bowl or not, that Purdy can do.
But this is the thing you're missing.
Please.
He's a rookie, right? You talking about Jimmy G and this and that. Right. He had his ceiling. The reason why they got away from Jimmy G is because not because they didn't win a Super Bowl. That probably has something to do with it. But they seen his ceiling. He can't get no bigger. He can't get no better. That's what he is. You talking about the last pick in the draft. You talk about being smart. They gave up three first rounders to get Trey Lance. I get that. But how smart do you look? The last pick in the draft. Now he's your guy. He's a franchise. Another topic. We talked about how Brandon Beane was talking about how Joe Burrow, right, is still on his rookie contract.
Right.
And you can spread all the money around.
That's what I'm saying.
So hold up. Let's just think about it. So first of all, you got a player, a young rookie playing as good as a guy like Jimmy G, who hasn't even touched his ceiling. We don't even know his floor. He's a baby. He's a rookie. You go from college to the pros, it's a whole new league, okay? That's one thing. The second thing is the contracts. So now I can really, if we think this team was already really, really good, which we already think, now we can really put some money out there and get some more players and put around this young player. And then the best part about football is the second year is your biggest development year. From my first year to my second year, it's like night and day. Small things like what the Philadelphia Eagles stadium looks like compared to you don't know. Oh, man. You hear the crowd noise. So all them small things you think about. And the last part is I think that the coaches, the GMs, the owners, they all want to seem like they're very competent, right? Now you get this player, last pick in the draft that nobody wanted. Now he's a beast, getting better and better and better when you championships. I don't know, it's a hard decision to make.
I hear what you're saying, but
that diced that thing up.
But as smart as you look for nailing Brock Purdy, the same people drafted Trey Lance and gave up the farm to get him. So, I mean, those two things go hand in hand.
So you win?
That's very true.
And then everybody looks smart.
I think that's the great equalizer. But I do wonder, they did the Trey Lance deal for a reason, right? Because they thought it would unlock their truest potential. I think there's some part of Kyle Shanahan that still wants to get a look at that. Like, man, what could this thing be with a guy who's drafted in the top 5? If you win a Super Bowl, I think that should outweigh potential. Like, who cares what it can be if you can win a Super Bowl with this, you know? But I don't think you can completely rule it out. I just don't.
Joy, final thought. Take us home.
I mean, I don't. Who cares about looking smart? If you win a Super Bowl, what's smarter than that?
Yeah.
Who cares
Fair.
about smart? You can continue building around somebody that you look really smart getting at the last pick in the draft.
That's dangerous, too.
And you can trade Trey Lance. You're not going to get equal value, but you can get something.
Get something out of it.
Rather
Why can't he be the backup? He can be the backup.
That seems like a distraction.
And a distraction.
I was thinking back to Robert Griffin, Kirk Cousins. You remember because we played them several times. When RG3 was no longer the starter, RG3 was gone. 2013, 2014, 2012, 2013, 2014, he was the starter. But by the time he was truly hurt and Kirk Cousins took over, he was gone in Cleveland because to have that first rounder.
He wasn't going to no Super Bowls. He wasn't going to no NFC Championships. None of that.
I'm not saying it like that. I'm saying it for the sake of when you have such a talented backup, it's just like, well, when are you going to play Trey?
You don't want your backup to be the reason
They just did it.
TV shows about
They just did it.
Yeah.
And it was fine. They just did it.
Were they? I mean, this is
In the NFC Championship.
But it's a completely removed situation from how we started the season. Nobody even imagined Brock Purdy would play a role this year.
We didn't even know who Brock Purdy was. But when you get into a situation, like circumstances change. Life comes at you fast. All right, well, now we got Brock Purdy.
Right.
We know what he's capable of doing in these big games and these big moments. To me, if he wins a Super Bowl, it's not a conversation. I don't know how it can be a conversation.
If they win the Super Bowl, I think I'm with you. I'm just saying anything short of that.
If they go?
I think even if they go,
As a rookie?
even if they go and don't win, I think anything's on the table, in my opinion.
I agree with both of you because it's this organization.
Because it's Kyle Shanahan.
I just don't think that they should do that. I think Brock Purdy has earned the starting position here. Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.